Okay, give me 1 minute. We're going to get started. Okay, it looks like we're up. Okay, hopefully I did this okay. I guess I did it correctly because now I see the chat is on the side of the page over here. So hopefully today or tonight, I should say, it'll be a little bit better than last weekend. Last weekend it was tough because I was trying to read on this computer while being filmed on this computer, so it was a little bit difficult. But today, hopefully, we got it worked out. So we have a couple of things we're going to talk about today. I see we have a couple of people watching already. We got 13, a couple of more. Steve, hi from North Carolina. Thanks for stopping in. Today, we're going to talk about a couple of different things. Up here in the Northeast, we're just about done with the winter. The winter is just about over. So right now we're leading into the spring. So there's a couple of things you want to do leading out of the winter and into the spring to try to prolong your car to avoid any kind of especially here in the Northeast, rust. Rust is a killer, as you know. So this time of the year, it's a good idea to get up underneath the car, whether you go to in your driveway or you do it in a car wash, whatever. It's always a good idea to get up underneath the car and get in there with the pressure washer and clean off any of the salt that's up inside the car. As you know, salt is a real killer. It'll definitely rot out not only the brake lines and all the other steel parts inside there, but it'll actually do really quite a number on your car. So, there's a couple of things you want to definitely do. Another thing you want to do this time of the year is you want to start to check your tire pressure too, because in the wintertime, when you set your tire pressure, in the winter, it can be 0 degrees outside. You set your tire pressure to, say, 32 pounds of pressure per square inch. When you bring it outside now in the spring into the summer, you're looking at 60 degrees or whatever the temperature is of the day. So for every 10 degrees in temperature that it goes up, you'll gain 1 pound of pressure. So theoretically, if you put the air in when it was 0 and now you're up to 50 or 60 degrees out there, you're going to raise it 5 or 6 pounds per square inch. So your tires will be overinflated. So you definitely want to check your tire pressure. Very important. Take a look at the threads on your tire. If your tires are in poor condition and the threads are worn down, you want to definitely replace the tires, especially getting into the summer driving, because you may think that you need to have the good tires on the car only in the winter time, which is true, but you also need to have good tires on the car in the summertime as well. The worst thing that can happen is you'll be driving down the road and you'll hit a puddle or you'll have a tremendous downpour and the road becomes flooded and your car starts to hydroplane and you lose control of the car and it's slipping. So if your tires are worn, you want to replace them. If your tire pressure is low, you want to reset your tire pressure. Getting into the summertime, it's going to start getting hot. You want to make sure that your cooling system is adequately, working properly. You want to also make sure your cooling fans turning on and off. In the winter, it's not as crucial as in the summertime because the winter, it's a lot cooler out there, so your car runs a lot cooler. But you want to make sure that your cooling system is working properly, cooling fan and such. You want to check your air conditioner because at any time today it's going to be 50 or 60 degrees out there. And a couple of days down the road, before you know it, it's going to be 80 or 90 degrees out there, and you're going to be using your air conditioner. So you may want to check your AC to make sure that everything is working okay. Take a look at your drive belts to make sure your drive belts are in good condition as well. And believe it or not, a lot of people think that your battery goes dead strictly in the wintertime. It's not true. There's 2 times of the year that we sell a lot of batteries at the shop. The winter, of course, and the summer. The heat and the cold is what destroys a battery. So you want to make sure that you have your battery checked to make sure that the battery is in good condition and not going to leave you stranded someplace. I will tell you this, that if you bring your car to a reputable mechanic you've been dealing with for a long time and you trust him, you can go by what he says. But if you're going to bring it into a dealership and the dealership is going to fix your car for you, don't always go by what the dealership recommends. If a dealership says to you, you need to do a brake fluid flush or power steering flush or transmission fluid flush or whatever, go by what your owner's manual says. Every owner's manual if you go through the manual, it's going to show you the maintenance schedule inside the owner's manual. The maintenance schedule is going to tell you everything that the manufacturer thinks that you should be doing at a preset time. You go to a dealership, and not saying that all dealerships do this and not all mechanics do this, but there is a lot of them out there that will try to sell you something that you really don't need to have done. If it's not in your manual, don't do it, because they're just trying to sell you up on something. So know the mechanic you're going to, or who you're actually dealing with. Mike, happy Easter. I see you're on here too. Mrs. Jimthecarguy is in the back, but happy Easter to you and to Helga. Okay, so that's enough about the summertime maintenance. I think I covered everything that I wanted to cover here. Yeah, the tires are very important. I told you about that. The tire pressure, you want to check that all the time. Tire pressure, I hear this at the shop all the time. People will say to me, well, how many pounds of pressure am I supposed to have in the tire? On the side of the tire, it'll say 45, 50, 60, whatever it says on the side of the tire. That's not what you're supposed to set your tires to. That's actual maximum pressure that's recommended for it. What you want to do is you want to go on the door. Open up the door of the car. When you open up the door, you can look down on the door frame or on the door itself, and it'll tell you what the tire pressure is supposed to be. So you want to go by that sticker on there. We did get a couple of things in the mail over the so enough of the summertime maintenance. We're pretty much covered that. But anybody has any questions, of course, you can ask. I'll try to read a couple of them on the side over here, and we'll go through it if we can. I did get a couple of things sent to me this past week, so I didn't open them up yet. But we're going to take a look at them together, and we're going to see what they actually are. This one is actually fairly light, and as you can guess, it came from Amazon, or it was shipped to me by Amazon. This comes from Thousand Shores Incorporated out of Lexington, Kentucky. You can see it right up inside here. That's where it is. All right. So let's open it up and we'll see what's inside here. It's very light, whatever it is. So I know it's really something fairly small. All right, it says Thousand Shores Incorporated. It's an OBD car code scanner. OBD2, I should say. It's a Wi-Fi code reader. It works with most models of cars and APP and iOS. So let's see what this looks like. I'm assuming there's an app that you must have to download to actually get this to work. But as you can see, that's it, and this plugs right into the OBD connector underneath the car. And I'm not going to read it now because that would be rude. Because last week I was reading everything over here, and we're not going to do that this week. But it does come with directions of what you're supposed to do. So we will look into that later. But it's most likely it's going to be an app that you're going to have to download probably to your phone. That's going to actually read any kind of codes or failures that are inside the car itself. So let's put this on the side. And we got another one here. This one is a little heavier, and as you can guess, it also comes from Amazon. And this is out of Lexington, Kentucky as well. This is from a company called, I am going to cover up the rest of it, but that's it, from Tac Life. All right. You don't want to know where Jimthecarguy lives, do you? You already know where I work. Okay, let's see what we got here. Okay. And this one comes from, it says, Tac Life. That's a laser measuring 165 feet distance. Large backlit LCD. Large backlit is pretty good, especially when you get to be my age and you need these. Backlit and large is always good. So we're going to put that back in there. Let's open it up. That's what it looks like right here. All right, let's see what this looks like. just my obsessive compulsive nature. I always put everything back in the packaging that it came from, because that way I know who sent it to me. I will put a link down in the description below this video to give you an idea of what what it looks like, probably on the Amazon website. But that's the piece itself. How it works, I didn't read it yet, and of course I didn't put in the batteries yet, which is right there. So we'll have to put the batteries in, and we'll have to see what it looks like. It looks like it also comes with a carrying case, and it comes with, of course, your user's manual, how to use it. So we'll take a look through that when we have a chance, and we'll take a look and see what it looks like. I'll put this off to the side as well. And the last thing we got, there was a fairly large package again here. And this one comes from Kennel, Knillight. And again, Lexington, Kentucky. I got a feeling that is probably, I could be wrong about this, and maybe somebody knows for sure, but I got a feeling that most likely a lot of the products that are coming from foreign countries may have to go through Lexington, Kentucky before they can actually be shipped out to wherever. I'm just assuming, I'm not sure. Now let's open this up and see what we got here. No idea. Let's see what it says. This is a white T10 194 license plates. Oh, okay. That's what these are. Okay. Anybody who knows the what lights go into most vehicles, a lot of the cars by the license plate, and some of the interior lights and such, they use a 194 light bulb, and these look like, the base of it down here looks like a 194, but the top is probably yep, it's an LED light. So that's that. But that's only the one. We got something else here as well. I'm gonna put this back in there. This goes in here. When using a knife, be careful. Okay, this one is, this one looks like, oh. Okay, these look like they're some type of a light. Let's take a look and see what the brackets are here. It comes with the mounting hardware. I'm assuming that it's most likely like some type of a fog light. That's probably what it is, and it's just negative and positive, which is, as you can see here, it's black and red. So these are the fog lights right here, and it looks like it comes with the mounting hardware to actually mount it wherever you want it to, probably on your bumper someplace, I'm assuming. Somehow I don't think these are going to go on Jimthecarguy's car, because I actually drive a Honda, and you're not going to mount these things on a Honda, that's for sure. But that's it. That's the lights that were sent to me. All right, so we're just going to put this off to the side here as well. All right, and that's it. That's pretty much everything that we got. I got something else over here, but you know what? Let me show you. I have no use for it, because let me show you real quick. This one I did. This is it here. I did. It's a power inverter. I'm sorry, it's backwards. It looked good to me because I was looking at this side, but it's a power inverter. And I'll explain to you why this is not going to work for me. This is a power inverter. If you had your car and you were out up in the woods and you needed to cut down whatever, a tree, or you needed to charge a computer, or in my case, charge up your camera or your cell phone or whatever, you could use something like this. You connect it up to your battery on your car. You know what? Let me open it up and I'll show you what it looks like. Like I said, this is not good for me because this is useless. because this one here is actually made for a truck. You know, cars run on 12 volts. You know, they don't run on 24 volts. But this one here, for some reason, this company, and I know who this company is because I've dealt with them before. I did email them to ask them what they wanted me to do with it, but I haven't heard back from them yet. But basically what it is that this is the unit right here. What it does is it connects up to your vehicle through right on the back over here. You'll have negative and positive, and they supply you with cables like this. These cables, you'll put the eyelids on the back over here and tighten them down. Very simple. I'm not going to show you how to do it. Just unscrew these and connect it on there. And when you put it on here, this is your 12 volts coming in, and on the side over here is actually 110 volts. So you can plug in lights, you can plug in your iPod, you can plug in your computer, your cell phone, whatever you want to do, you can plug it in and you can charge it up through here. The problem with this one, 24 volts. 24 volts is not going to work on a car. You know, if you have low voltage coming in, a lot of times these inverters here, they will not even work. Actually, you know what? This does tell you what it'll work on. It'll do a TV, air hammer, drills, computers. You can use this for a lot of different things. But like I said, I can't try this one because this is 24 volts. And if I put it on my car, what's going to happen is this unit is going to sense that the voltage is low and it's going to shut this off. Because what happens when the voltage on most of these inverters get down below when the power gets down below a certain point, these inverters actually shut off. They actually have a safety built into them that you can't kill your battery in your vehicle. It'll shut it down. Right here, it'll tell you right down here. This is your off and on switch right here, but it'll tell you there's a fault, there's a problem, that the voltage is too low. And from what it looks like here is a USB charger on this one as well. But like I said, I'm not going to be able to try this one, so this is pretty much useless to me. This would be good for anybody who does trucks. It would be good for. But I wasn't going to show it to you, but I showed you and now you saw it. All right, but it's not going to really do me any good. That's it. So we covered that. Let's see what else we're going to talk about. I got a couple of emails during the week, and I did tell everybody that I would actually, sometimes to answer the emails, you have to spend a lot of time back and forth and back and forth. And sometimes it's difficult to get all of my points across when I'm emailing somebody back and forth. In my head, it makes perfect sense, but to the people on the other end, they really don't know. So what I did is I actually printed out a couple of them, and I told the people that I would actually read them online here, and we would actually see, or we can talk about what how to correct the problem. So this is the first question, and this one comes from somebody named Willie Little. And he says, "Great video, Jim. What happened?" Oh, well, okay, maybe we won't do that one yet. All right. Well, you know what? I'm reading this, so we're going to do it. It says, "Great video." This is from Willie Little. "Great video, Jim. What happened to your hand? And I know what it's like to keep working. Hope everything is feeling better." It's really not a big deal. It's actually kind of a stupid thing that I did. I'm right-handed, and I swing a hammer right-handed all the time. Well, don't try to swing a hammer left-handed when you're right-handed, because what happens is I was doing a brake job, and when I swung the hammer left-handed, I actually wound up catching the stud on my hand and wound up ripping the fingernail off. So that's it. I think I'll live, and it's not the first nail I've lost, and I'm sure it will not be the last. All right, but let's go back to. Okay. The next one is Nori Khan, K-A-N. It says, "Hi, Jim. How are you doing? Great with your videos. You could be a great teacher. My question is, for changing tire pressure sensors, if I wait for a while, for example, 6 months to change, I'm assuming to change the sensor, is there any problem?" The only problem is that when you drive a car with minus a sensor, I'm assuming what they mean here is that they probably broke the sensor, or there's a defective sensor, or maybe the guy mounting the tire possibly broke the sensor. That you can put a rubber valve in. A rubber valve will work in this case. You'll put it in, and it'll actually just, it obviously will not transmit a signal. The rubber valve stem will seal the tire, and it will be able to inflate it. The only problem is your light on your dashboard, that tire light, the one that looks like, or as people have said to me, it looks like a Pac-Man. When that light is lit, it's going to stay lit because it's sensing 3 of the other sensors, and the 4th sensor is not being picked up. To answer your question, will it cause a problem? No. You can leave it off. You can drive it. The only problem is that light's going to be on. When you put the new sensor in and you reprogram the new sensor to the vehicle, that sensor, if it's programmed correctly to the vehicle, the light will turn off and it'll pick up all 4 sensors again. Now keep in mind that with that sensor, when it breaks like that, you want to keep that old sensor, because if you keep the old sensor, if somebody has the tool like I have, you can scan that, you can get the ID from that sensor, and you can clone that sensor so that you can put it back into the vehicle, and the computer will pick it up as if it's the sensor that came with that car that was the OEM sensor. So if you have the old sensor, keep it. If not, you're going to have the new sensor reprogrammed to the vehicle so that it recognizes all 4 of the sensors. But bottom line is, it's not going to create a problem. It's just going to make the light, the tire light, stay on. But once you put it back together, it should go off. All right. Okay, we have here, this is from, okay, this is Mike Howell, and he says, "Hello, Jim. I've been watching your videos for a few months. They are very helpful. My 2007 Honda Accord power steering pump makes a whining noise when I start my engine in the morning. Also when the car sits for a few hours. So basically when I start a cold engine. It also pushes the fluid out of the reservoir, and the fluid is bubbly." That's a key right there. The bubbly fluid is what you really need to know here. "Should I change the power steering pump or just the O-ring?" Well, the Honda, actually, if you look through some of my videos, you're going to see a video in there. I don't think it's an 07. I think it's more like an 03 or an 04. I could be wrong, but there's a problem with the O-rings on the return side of the power steering. Is it the return? No, I'm sorry. I think it's not the return, but anyhow, there's a problem with the power steering O-rings. What happens when it's pulling the fluid in through the reservoir and into the vehicle is actually leaking air through the O-ring. When the O-ring is on the pump itself, it's supposed to seal any air from coming in. But when the fluid is being pulled in through the reservoir, it's also pulling in air from the outside. The air comes into the pump, aerates with the fluid. The fluid then expands. It pees out all over the ground. It makes a mess all over the engine compartment. And of course, aerated power steering fluid is not going to work like regular power steering fluid. So if it was one of my customers, I would say don't change the pump at this point. Just change the O-rings on both the inlet and also the return. And that should take care of your problem. But actually, you know what? If I'm not mistaken, I think there's a TSB on this too. It could be a TSB, a technical service bulletin regarding that O-ring. So do the O-ring. That's the least expensive thing. I will tell you this. Don't just take an O-ring from any, an O-ring kit and throw it on there. You go to the dealership, you get the right O-ring for it. It'll be exactly the right one, and you'll have no problem with it. What's an O-ring going to cost you? Probably under $5. So that's a cheap fix, actually. All right, and Cat G says, "Can you help me figure out what these noises are?" Actually, I may not be able to do this one because there's actually a link for me to go to look at something, but let's see what it says. It says, "Can you help me figure out what these noises are?" It also has a slight coolant leak that seems to disappear. I have had 3 repairs since Christmas. My car was making these noises. Okay, that's the key right there. It was making the noises before I took it in, but it did not make the noise while the mechanic had it. That's a little bit tough to diagnose where the noise is coming from if it's not doing it. So intermittent noises are very difficult to pinpoint. I will give the guy, whatever mechanic, that slack with that. Now it's just getting louder. Well, if it's getting louder, it's going to be easier to actually pinpoint. Any help you can give me would be grateful. I am about to scrap the car. I had so many breakdowns it's terrified to drive it anywhere. I can understand your frustration, especially after being back to a mechanic a couple of times. Now, I don't want to say anything about the mechanic because I don't know how he is. He may be the best mechanic in the world, but being that this car is now making the noise, I would bring it back to find out where the noise is coming from. He says something about coolant, leaking coolant. It's a 2006 Torrent. I'm not sure what a Torrent is. I'm assuming that you're probably not here in the States because I don't know what a Torrent actually is. But you want to. That noise is most likely coming from the water pump itself. You're losing coolant, and there's no real leaks. It comes and goes, and the noise also comes and goes. You want to try to pinpoint where that noise is coming from. If the noise is coming from the water pump, you want to definitely change the pump. Now, I understand noises can be very difficult to pinpoint. Noises do drive you nuts sometimes trying to find out what they are. The best way to do it is to get yourself a stethoscope, or if you look back in some of my videos, you'll see that there's a way of doing it without using a stethoscope. A stethoscope is good, but sometimes they're not long enough to get down into where you want to see where the noise is coming from. Remember, when you're on the front of the engine, you'll have a water pump, you'll have an alternator, you'll have idler pulleys or tensioners or whatever. You want to try to get down and find out where that noise is coming from. So what you want to do is, if you're going to do it yourself, get yourself a fairly long screwdriver. If you don't have a long screwdriver, get yourself a brake line and use a brake line or a screwdriver as a stethoscope. You put the screwdriver lobe, the screwdriver end to your ear lobe, and you can put the screwdriver down and you'll be able to hear where that noise is coming from. It transmits that noise right through the screwdriver as long as you're not touching anything else. If this was your screwdriver and this is your idler pulley, you want to bring it down and touch the bolt right in the center of it so you can see if that's where the noise is coming from. Watch your fingers because the engine is running and everything in there is turning. You can really, really hurt yourself, if not lose a couple of digits, so be real careful. If it's in a real far place that you don't have a screwdriver long enough to get down in there, get yourself a very long brake line. Take the brake line and take a rubber hose, put a rubber hose. There's one of my videos are in here actually, how I did it on I think it was a Hyundai actually. You take the brake line, you take a rubber hose, you put the rubber hose on the one end of the brake line, you take the other end of the brake line, and you touch it to whatever it is. If this was the idler pulley or you would touch onto the bolt on the idler pulley with that long brake line. As long as the brake line is not touching something else, it needs to be strictly touching the item that you want to see if it makes any noise. It can't rest up against anything else. And then you'll go around and you'll touch it to each one of the idler pulleys or the tensioners or in the back of the water pump itself, not where the water pump is rotating, but if this is the pump pulley rotating right here, you want to touch right behind it with that long brake line to see where that noise is coming from. And when you have it to your earlobe, you'll be able to hear where the noise is coming from. All right, so that's pretty much. I hope you understand that, and you're able to pinpoint it. Just shoot me an email and let me know how you make out, or if you need any further advice on that as well. All right, now we have another one here. It says, I have a 2006 Honda Odyssey, and this is, I think I'm saying this right, Canoe Patel. I have a 2006 Honda Odyssey with 107,200 miles on it. When I connect fixed auto diagnostic device. Okay, I'm assuming that fixed is probably the scan tool that they're using. When I connect the fixed auto diagnostic device to the OBD port, it shows that all 6 cylinders are misfiring. No engine check light is lit. During acceleration, sometimes it vibrates and there is a hesitation also felt. I was thinking of replacing the coils and the spark plugs and decided to wait. Can you recommend I should take the nail? Should I take the nail that caused? I'm not sure what that means, but we'll skip it anyway. Take the nail, the causes and solutions for this problem. Okay. Well, my recommendation is if you have a Honda Odyssey as a 2006 and you have 107,000 miles on it, that's not a lot of miles. 107,000 miles on a Honda is very low. The chances are that if you have 6 cylinders and they're all showing misfires, it's extremely unlikely that you're going to have 6 cylinders showing misfires all at the same time, especially when there's no check engine light. If you had two cylinders that were really misfiring, that check engine light would be on, and that check engine light not only would be on, but that check engine light would be blinking. Remember this, if you have a check engine light on, it's serious. If you have a check engine light on and it's blinking while you're driving the vehicle, that's extremely serious. If the light was on and it was blinking, you want to pull that car over. Don't drive it. Get it into a shop immediately, because the misfire in that engine is bad enough to actually cause catalytic converter failure. And as you know, you'd never want to change a catalytic converter if you don't have to. With 107,000 miles on it, it's not going to be the issue here. My guess would be that diagnostic tool you're using is most likely not going to be any good. There's a million other diagnostic tools out there that you could pick up for fairly cheap. I did one last week, actually. It was a scanner. But, oh, you know what? I have to tell you about this. This company actually sent me an email. They said, if you go online and you check this out online, they're doing a giveaway, actually. I'm sorry, I forgot all about that. I wanted to print that out. I forgot about it. But if you go online and you go to their website, it's Foxwell, and this is called an NT201. If you go onto their website and you take a look at it, they said that they're actually, there's a contest you can enter to win this for free. But even if you don't get it for free, I think this was under $50. You can get yourself a tool such as that, and you'll know that the readings that you're going to get are going to be accurate. Like I said, the chances are of this vehicle having 6 cylinders all misfiring and still being able to drive the car is going to be slim to none. So get yourself a scan tool that you know actually works. Scan it and make sure. If you're feeling a vibrating or a shaking in the car, something is definitely going on, but the check engine light is not on. So that leads me to believe that the information that you're getting is probably going to be false information. So I wouldn't really worry too much about the 6 cylinders misfiring. Get yourself another scan tool that you know works, and check the actual readings on a good scan tool to find out what's going on. So we're going to get rid of this just so we can keep track of what we're doing here, because I got my desk and floor looks like a mess over here. I got stuff everywhere. And yes, I did hear from you people. Everybody's asking me, what's my rabbit up there? It's just somebody just a picture on my wall. That's it. No significance. Okay, here we go. Jessica B. Says, Jessica B to me. I just watched your video on how to diagnose and repair a 2013 Mini Cooper 4-cylinder. A Mini Cooper for a cylinder misfire. A 2013 Mini Cooper is misfiring on cylinder 1 and 2. I have some shaky/jerkiness on occasion when accelerating and going up hills. That's very important, going up hills. I am going to check the spark plugs first, and if they are all right, I will move on to the ignition coils. I've run into this problem before, and I'm 99.9% sure, and you'll never hear me say 99.9 unless I'm pretty much positive. If you check, I believe that there's a TSB for these coils on the Mini. And the problem with that is that, and this is where the TSB is good, because the TSB will tell you exactly as you're talking about here, under acceleration, whether you're going up a hill or you're going onto a freeway or wherever you're going, it'll actually cause the misfire to develop. There's a problem with the coils. The coils are actually no good. They're breaking down internally. That particular car that I did the video on, I did recommend to the customer to change all 4 of the coils, but they were too much money for them, and they elected to do just the one, and they said they were going to bring it back to do the others. As of today, I haven't seen the car back yet. I see it passing by my shop all the time, but it hasn't come back yet. So their problem was resolved by just changing the coil. But if it was me, make sure there's a TSB on this. If there is a TSB, change all 4 of the coils. Now, I know online you can pick up coils fairly cheap. Don't buy junk. Buy something that's decent. Get a name brand coil, because the worst thing you can do is get some of these off-brand inferior coils, put it on, and you're still going to have a misfire. And the first thing you're going to think of is that, oh, it's got to be something else. And you're going to start throwing more parts at the problem. Make sure you get a good coil, so that way you know that that coil is not a problem and that the coils are good. So to answer your question, check the TSBs. You're going to see that there is a TSB on this particular car, that the coils are actually no good. And if I could be wrong about this, but you want to check into a little further. Not only is it a TSB, it may even be a recall. So you may want to just look into it a little bit further and see. If I have a chance during the week, I'll look into it further. But I got so much stuff going on, I may not have a chance to. But check into it to yourself and see if there's any kind of a recall going on with it. So, all right. So move on to the next one now. Okay. Okay. This is the next page of that same question. Could it be carbon? And would cleaning the coils help? No, it's not going to help, and it's not going to be carbon buildup. The problem is definitely going to be inside the coil, because there is a known issue with those coils. So if it was my car, I would change the coils. I wouldn't play around. Okay. This is Strider Films. Jimthecarguy. Quick question on lug nut studs. I know in the video you mentioned how to replace it when the caliper and all were off. Theoretically, could I leave the wheel and car on the pavement and simply hammer out the stud if everything else is in place? I could then grease the new stud, place it in there, and sink the new nut on and pull it in. Not sure if that would work. Just seems logical in my head as the brakes are all done. Thanks again, Jim. It does sound logical, but the problem is that once you have, when you have the brakes and everything all apart, you have the 5 studs or 4 studs, whatever it is, sticking through the hub. The hub is right here. Your rotor goes on over the top of that hub. It slides. This is the hub. It slides over the top of it. It actually sandwiches it inside. The problem is that you see one of those studs are broken, you can get on it with a hammer. You can hammer that stud through, but that stud's going to fall down inside, and it's going to be trapped in behind where the hub bearing and the rotor are going to hold that broken piece of the stud in there, and it's going to bounce around inside. You will not be able to get that new stud back through there. Unfortunately, the only way you're going to be able to do it, you will have to take the brakes back off the car again. You will have to take the caliper, the mounting bracket, and also the rotor back off in order to get that stud out. Because once you hammer, it's going to fall inside. If the rotor is off, you're going to hit it, it's going to fall out, it's going to fall on the ground, and that's it, you're good. You grease up the new nut, put the new nut in the back up there. You take a lug nut, and what I always do is 2 washers. Put 1 washer on, lug nut sticking through. This is the hub itself. Put the stud through the back, lubricated on the back of the stud. Push it through this way here, and now on this side over here, you're going to take some never sees or grease or whatever you have, and you're going to put the 2 washers on the top here. You want to make sure that the washers are fairly large diameter, so when they go over the stud, if the stud is sticking out and the washers go over the top, they can't be real tight on there. They need to stay, they can't be tight, because if they're tight, it's going to interfere with the back of it. You want to make sure that the washers are fairly large and you have movement like this up inside, that they'll move up and down. Now, what you do is you center the washer over the top of it. You take the lug nut and you turn it around backwards. You don't have the 45-degree taper sticking into there any longer. You turn it over backwards and you use the back of the flat part of the nut and you air gun that in until you can pull the stud all the way through. Once you pull the stud all the way through, you take the nut off, throw that nut away. You're not going to use that nut. You're going to discard it and buy a new one. Throw the washers away, and then you can reassemble your brakes back together the way they're supposed to be. And then, of course, you're going to have to put the brakes all back together, put everything back together, and you're good to go. There's only one good part about doing this job. You already did it one time, and you'll be able to knock it out in half the time because now you know exactly what you're going to need, what tools you're going to need, and what sockets and wrenches and all that kind of stuff. So I hope that helps you out with that question. Okay, let's see here. We have a couple of more, and then we're gonna call it a night with that. I have the same problem with the check engine light flashing, but I don't have a code reader. How do I go about having that checked out? Like I was saying to the person with the Mini, if you have a check engine light that's flashing, that's extremely serious. You don't want to drive the car for an extended period of time. With a flashing check engine light, you're going to have multiple cylinder misfires. You're not going to have just one issue. You're going to probably have a couple of things going on. So you want to definitely get that in and get a scan to find out what's going on with it. The least amount of time you drive the car, the less money it's going to cost you to fix it. So you want to definitely have that checked out, before you drive the car any further. And if you don't have a scan tool, and I know today money is tight for everybody. If you go to some of these big box stores, they will scan the car for you, or truck, whatever the case may be. They will scan it and tell you what the codes are. They won't clear the light and turn the light off for you, but at least they can check it and tell you what the problem is and where the misfire or whatever the problem may be, and then you'll be able to figure it out. If you find out what codes are in there, what number codes are in there, send me an email. I hopefully will be able to check it out and give you an idea of what's what the problem is. Now I just want to go back over here for 1 second. I just saw something on here. I just want to see. Helga says, I'm sure there's a lot of conversation going on up in there that I missed, but Helga says to me, I like the shirt. It's my Hawaiian shirt. What's there not to like about it? This is me. In the summertime, Helga, I think I probably own 15 or 20 different Hawaiian shirts. Once it gets up over 50 degrees, or I should say, once Mrs. Jimthecarguy lets me wear my Hawaiian shirts, I wear them all the time, except at work. I won't wear them at work because you know what happens at work. Gerald says, shirts from Hawaii, LOL. That's right. Hawaii is probably my favorite place to go. If you have a chance to go there, that's definitely the place to be. It's the best. Okay, let's see. You know what? I think. Oh, okay. My mistake. The first one I read, it was from Willie Little. Great video, Jim. What happened to your hand? I know it was like having to work with the bills keep coming in. Yep. Any mechanic or anybody who works for themselves knows that if you hurt yourself, there's no such thing as taking a sick day or taking off just because you're injured. You need to adjust to it and just do the best you can. Slows you down a little bit, but you still get the job done. With this here, it was a little bit tough because I as you know, I wear my rubber gloves for everything. And in this particular case, I couldn't get my rubber gloves on. My hand was so swollen, I couldn't get my gloves on. So I couldn't tell. I couldn't put the rubber gloves on. I had to use a regular glove instead, which is a little difficult because you can't pick up anything. All right, let's see what somebody has to say here. Anybody have anything to say? Okay, I'll start. This is my buddy down in Glen. He says if Jim doesn't give me a blue wrench, I may have to buy one at Harbor Freight. Yeah, I'll get you one for sure. Okay, we got here. I think, what time we got? 7:45. All right. I think I covered everything I wanted to cover tonight. We talked about the summer schedule of maintenance. We talked about some issues with cars. We have some stuff over here that people sent me. And I don't even know what I'm going to do with all this stuff. I get so much of it sent to me, I don't even know what to do with it. So if anybody has any ideas, send me an email and we can talk about it because I don't even know what to do with it all. I just have so much to shop and so much here at home. It's just going to wind up being donated, I guess. So because well, actually, if if this was 12 volts, I would actually be using this on my car. But, or I should say as a spare for my car. I do use an inverter, but I have it in the trunk as a backup for just in case. Um, that's it. All right. Remember, last week we had done a couple of questions we talked about. We talked about car trivia questions. Well, I do have some more over here we're going to talk about. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think we left off on the one, and I could be wrong, but I think we left off on the one that was the Mustang. Let me just go back and I'll tell you for sure. Okay, it says, what was Ford's answer to the Chevy Corvette and other legal street racers of the 1960s? Did I do that one? I think I did. I think I did because I'm looking at this Mustang here and I seem to remember seeing it. So now we're going to do the next question. And a friend of mine sent this to me from car questions that they found online. Okay, what was the first car fitted with an alternator rather than a direct current dyno? Dyno Mama, Dyno whatever. What was the first one that had an alternator instead of a generator? We'll see if anybody can get it. I don't think anybody's going to get this one because I didn't even know about it myself. Let's see. Okay, it was okay, anybody have any ideas? I guess not. Okay, it was actually a 1960, and it was a Plymouth Valiant. Here's another one for you. What was the first car fitted with a replacement cartridge oil filter? What was the first one that actually had a cartridge oil filter? Replaceable cartridge filter. You know, back in the day, they used to have the filters that used to take them out, clean them out, and put them back in. But this one here was actually, it was a 1924 Chrysler. Okay, this one, good guess, Mike. Model T. What was the first car to offer a perpetual guarantee? What was the first car to offer a perpetual guarantee? Don't even know what that means, but this is one of the questions. Big Dog 5001 says Chrysler. Oh, I'm gonna have to put my glasses on for this for you. But okay, we're gonna go back to some of these questions on here in just a minute. It was actually a 1904 Acme from Reading, Pennsylvania. Perpetual was distributing in this case as Acme closed down in 1911. Okay. Okay. What American luxury automaker began by making carriages for birds and squirrels? For birds and squirrels. And let's read that one more time. What American luxury automaker began by making cages for birds and squirrels? Says the Georgian and Pierce Company of Buffalo, who made the Pierce Arrow, also made ice boxes. Okay, last one, and then we're going to do some questions over here. We'll see what's going on. What was the first referred to itself as a convertible? What car was referred to itself as a convertible? It says a 1904 Thomas Flyer, which had a removable hard top. Okay, last one. Oh, this one looks familiar. I used to own one of these cars. What car was the first to have its radio antenna embedded in the window? What car was the first one to have the radio antenna embedded in the window? Okay, I don't think anybody's going to know it, so think about it. What car was the first one to have the radio antenna embedded in the window? And then we're going to read a couple of these over here. We're going to go back a little bit. We're going to see what anybody had to say. Let's go back up to the top here. One person writes to me, is that your favorite Hawaiian shirt? No, my favorite Hawaiian shirt was the one I wore, I think it was last week. That was my original Hawaiian shirt. That was the first one. Okay, somebody from Springfield, Virginia House. Hi, Jim. Thanks for the video. That was Alex. Paul writes, tires are a vital safety item. Yeah, tires are actually one of the most overlooked parts of a car. I can't tell you how many cars come into my shop and the tires are totally bald. I had one customer come into me one time, and I may have told you this already, but one thing you got to find out is sometimes I tell you the same story and I just forget I even told you about it. I had a customer come in a couple of years ago, leading into the winter time, and she came in. I did the brakes on the car, gave her the car back, and I said, you really need to change the tires on here. These tires are actually in pretty poor condition. And she said, well, with the holidays coming up, it's tough. I can't afford to do it. So I said, no problem. When you have a chance, you want to do it before the first snowfall. Well, the next couple of weeks go by, and all of a sudden I see the lady coming walking across the street. And she's crying, and she comes into my shop, and she actually went around the corner, very slow speed. There was a little bit of snow, and she slid and crashed into a parked car. So to answer your question, tires are probably one of the most overlooked things on a car that really need to be checked. Happy Easter, Jim, from you and Mrs. Jimthecarguy. Thank you, Mike and Helga. You have a great Easter too. Bill Milk 12345. Happy Easter. Star. I hope surfing today. No, but actually, to tell you the truth, Glenn, I was down at the beach today. I did go down there to check it out. It was actually really nice down there today. The sun was shining, and I was wearing a regular shirt, not a Hawaiian shirt, but a regular shirt, no jacket. It was beautiful today in Jersey. John 124 Abel. Jim House CTV House CVT transmission is better to drain. Phil, have Nissan deal do a fluid flush. I would, John, I would just go by whatever the manufacturer recommends. If you check the owner's manual and the owner's manual says that the CVT transmission needs to have it flushed at 50,000 miles, go by whatever it says in your owner's manual, not what they recommend, but what it says in the owner's manual. I will tell you this, make sure you use the correct fluid. Don't buy an off-brand fluid from your regular big box stores, because a lot of times those are universal fluids. They'll work, supposedly work, but don't use them. Go to the dealer, get the right one. You're going to pay a lot more money for it, but at least you know it's the correct fluid, and you're not going to wipe out your trans. Okay? All right, let's see here. Going by the door isn't always best. Paul says, going by the door isn't always the best way to go. It depends on the type of tire you have and the weight load of your vehicle is carrying. Paul, I don't wish to get into a discussion because you're right. Sometimes the sticker on the door is not right. It's a good rule of thumb. I always go by what it says on the sticker. But I will tell you this, sometimes the sticker, especially back in the day when Ford had a sticker that used to say that the tire pressure should have been 24 pounds of pressure, and it had catastrophic failures of the tires and the trucks were rolling over. That's because the tire pressure was too low. It built up a tremendous amount of heat, and they wound up with a catastrophic failure in the sidewalls of the tire. So nowadays, mostly everything that's on that sticker is going to be accurate. I wouldn't play around with anything except what it says on the sticker and on the door itself. And you go up and down maybe a couple of pounds one way or the other, but you never want to go way out of line with that. But Paul, I usually go by the sticker myself, but that's just my personal preference. We're not going to talk about some of this stuff, just you showed an OBD reader last week. What was the manufacturer? I hope you did say it, but I will show you again. It was actually Foxwell. This is the one here. It's made by Foxwell, and like I said, I don't want to repeat myself, but I know that the company did send me an email saying that this Foxwell is having a contest that you can enter to win it for free. So, but I don't want to repeat myself, but I just did. Okay. Gerald says if it's over 70,000 recommended, full flush. That's most likely. That's probably going to be correct. I know with the CVT trans, they do recommend changing that fluid a little more often. It's an Amazon warehouse. Oh, Steve 556 says 5576 says it's an Amazon warehouse. Oh, okay. So now I know why everything comes from down in Lexington, Kentucky. You're right. Okay. Thank you, Steve. I appreciate that. Okay. We have manual. My 240,000 Ultima is long overdue. Happy Easter, everyone. Somebody said, Chad. Gerald, happy Easter. Smash this thumbs up. Thanks, Glenn. Oh, I'm being corrected. My tech guy, Mike, the disgruntled mechanic, says cut towards your body. Cut towards your buddy, not your body. Okay. All right. Asta says, okay. You have one guess who that was. That was Mrs. Jimthecarguy checking in on me. Okay. It says, Glenn says, I use the inverter in my car to run the solar. Wow, that's a pretty good one, Glenn. Glenn says, I use the inverter in my car to run the sewing machine while I'm making yoga pants in the woods. Don't tell your wife about that, Glenn. Carter Stain says, can you help me out, Jim? I'm sorry I didn't see the email from you or the what you wrote. Oh, what's a resonator? What a resonator for in my truck Ram? What does it do? Okay, I think the way you're saying is, what does a resonator do in a car or truck or whatever? A resonator is basically just something. Back in the day, I'm going to back up now. You know, I've been around a long time, but back in the day, you used to be able to buy the exhaust system for a car minus the resonator. If you didn't want to spend any additional money, you could buy just the resonator. But the only problem is that the car would be noisier than it usually would be. That the resonator is actually like a second muffler. It helps quiet it down. So that's what a resonator does. Now, I just want to point this out to you. I'm not done with that question I had for you. What was the first car to have a radio antenna embedded in a windshield? Now, a clue I want to tell you is that I owned this car, so it can't be that old, right? Okay. Mike says a coffee maker. Oh, for sure. I have an 89,000 miles on my Murano. Never changed the CVT trans. We'll have to do that. Yeah, definitely. With 89,000 miles on it, it's definitely time to look into changing that fluid. Let's see here. Resonator is part of the exhaust system. Gerald, you're right. It is part of the exhaust system. But back in the day, people used to choose to leave it off because they used to, as I had one of my customers say to me one time, he says, if you leave off the resonator, it's going to sound like a Hollywood muffler. It was a lot louder, and he liked that noise. Didn't pass inspection, but he liked that noise. Okay. C.O. Jones, disgruntled 18-wheelers and RV users use inverters for coffee pots. You're right. 18-wheelers, because they, all these trucks do run on 24 volts, I think. All right, this one. Let's see what else we got here, and then I think we're going to call it a night. I think it's after 8 o'clock. My right hand, this is Steve, AKN1. My right hand usually has the finger with the purple nail. You're right, but the purple nail fell off now, and now it's just coming back. So I'll be good as new in a short period of time. Doesn't stop me from working, though. I still get the job done. I will tell you this, too. I did get an email from somebody today, and they said to me, and I'm not making fun of the person, believe me, I appreciate all my subscribers, good comments, bad comments, whatever you say. I don't take it personally, but they said to me, they're getting tired of looking at brake job videos. My number one job that I do in my shop is brakes. And if I don't have, I probably do 3 or 4 brake jobs a day. I do more brake jobs than most shops ever thought of doing. So if I film it and I put a lot of videos on brake jobs, it's just whatever comes in the door. If I want to make a video, I have to film it. If I don't film the brake jobs, I won't have the videos and you guys won't see them. So anything else comes in, of course, I will put it up there. But that's why you see so many brake videos, because my number one job is brakes. I can do brakes with my eyes closed. I probably have. All right. And then somebody says, if I delete, as they say, the resonator, what happens? Good, bad, loud, silent? It's just going to be louder. That's all that's going to happen. It's going to be louder. It's not really going to cause anything else for you, but it's going to be noisier. And Glenn says, I'm not sure Jim realizes we are here. You're right, Glenn. Because last week it was tough because I was trying to read off of this computer and you guys were seeing this side of me all the time. So this week I had a friend of mine recommended that I actually print off some questions and answers, and that way I can look right at the camera and talk to the camera to you. But yeah, I know you guys are here and I appreciate everybody. Okay, what do we got here? Okay, we're going to skip all the way to the bottom. Hayward says, made it here just to see Jim's Hawaiian shirt. We'll see which one I wear next week. Okay, okay. Okay, I'm going to scroll down now. I'm going to see if anybody has any guesses of what kind of car that was. Okay, somebody says Chevy, Datsun. No. Malibu. Okay, actually, the car was actually, which car was the first one to have a radio antenna embedded in the windshield? And I remember when I got the car, thinking to myself, it's like, where the heck is the antenna? They used to be up on the right front fender all the time, and then this car didn't have it. It was actually a '69 Grand Prix. The '69 Grand Prix is the first one that came, minus the antenna being externally mounted. This car came with no antenna. It was strictly inside the window. And as you know, just about all the manufacturers after that, they all did the same thing. Everything was embedded into the window. So that was the first one. I got a bunch of others on here we're going to do, but I think we'll do that next week because I didn't really see a lot of people too interested in it. But what do we got here now? Uh, Danny Brown says, Happy Easter. Happy Easter to you too. That's a wonderful t-shirt. I have many myself. Jim, a quick question. How free should the IAC mechanism part be turning? Should it be freely trying to diagnose IRs? Well, I'm going to skip past that because there's a lot of variables on that actually. Hey guys, working, so I can't say. My friend Wyatt says he's going back to work all through the night. Okay, I think that we're going to call it a night here. I think that we're actually done with all of the discussions. Hopefully, if anybody has any ideas of stuff that they want me to do on this channel, stuff that they want me to talk about, or maybe they don't want me to do these pre-printed things where I can actually answer some of the questions, you let me know. I can always change whatever you want me to. But that's it. All right, so I'm going to say, good night to everybody. Thanks for stopping by. And next Sunday, 7 o'clock, I'll be here. I'll be wearing a different shirt. So, enjoy the rest of your weekend, enjoy the rest of your evening. And as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.